got my little template here based on the bottom of the motor, and then the shaft is right about here, and this end is up. So I want to, basically I want the shaft of this to be about at the bottom edge of the 2x6 at the top of my door. So I'm going to go ahead and put this up here in some kind of a relative area. And see, that hangs down a little bit and another 2x6. So let's see here. That looks pretty good, and I'll probably have to put a dent in this little piece of metal here for the gear later, but I'm not a whole bunch of worried about that. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill here for my 4 bolts. And hopefully I'm making a trip to the pharmacy, but we're going to have to see. Okay, I got my 4 marks, and I may have to adjust where my ladder is here, but for all those haters, I'll actually, I'm not standing or sitting. It's do not stand or sit right here, so I won't. I'll stand just below that area, and I'm hanging on real good, so. Pre-drill the post here. Saturday the 5th of September out here at the Beetle Barn. Nice sunny day. Managed to get that motor up there. And you can see I got some shims under the backside. The upright there has a twist in it. Anyway, I just finished trying to figure out my limit switches. I was going to go ahead and use these same light switches. But what I've done, if you can see, maybe, I put a long chunk of a very heavy-duty zip tie on there. Some of the JB weld. A couple of zip ties underneath that JB, very small ones, holding that zip tie there, and then everything ought to harden up. And that way I've got a little flex down here to flip across some kind of a paddle. Don't know yet. I'm going to give it a try. I did some looking for the switches I wanted, and we're looking at $100 at least a piece for good industrial switches to hold the voltage and amperage I want, since I'm running line voltage through them. Anyway, we'll give a shot on those 20 amp at 277 or 125 volt light switches. Well, it's Monday out here at the Beetle Barn. I'm back at this door project. There we go. Motor's up there and mounted, and I built my little we can get up in there and see what we got. There we go. A little idler at the other end. I didn't have enough bolts of substantial size to bolt that up there, and so I had to get some of those. But basically that is yeah, just a cut down version. There's the chunk that this is basically off. What it was. One of these guys, some adapters there, blah blah blah, shaft with a couple of pillow blocks on it. Anyway, I have a bunch of those. They go with those motors. So I cut one of those down. I grabbed the rustiest, ugliest one of the bunch since I was going to cut it. And, you know, it's not too bad. But, anyway, so cut that guy off. Shortened it all down and put it right up there. So I got to finish bolting that up there. I scrounged up through the piles and came up with some of this stuff here, 3/4, so I'll be able to fit my control wires down to my switch. I'll pull those out of there. Those are like number 10. And I'll pull them out of there and pull in my number 12 stuff. But anyway, so that'll run down to the switch over here on the wall easier than trying to hard pipe it, and it'll work out. So I'm gonna go back at this project. Well, I've been looking around. This is the only rat's nest number that's got some number 12 in it. Everything else around here is number 10 wire. I don't want to waste it. Anyway, this kind of reminds me of when I was a kid, and my grandpa used to hand me a wad of string and tell me to untangle it. I think he was just keeping me busy. But anyway, so I'm gonna go after this stuff and see if I can straighten it out and see what I got. I came up with enough number 12 to do my control business. Guess we can see I got multiple blacks, multiple whites, and multiple greens. The greens are in fact two different color greens, so they're easy to determine which is which. The white and black, I had the wherewithal before I pulled the wires in to label. This pair of white and black are labeled with tape, and in fact up there where it comes out of the box, same deal. So anyway, I haven't cut these off to length yet. I got to move my marks up on my wires, keep things determined, and I'll mount that box right down here under all these light switches, and it'll go ahead and go right here up on the post. So it'll be back in out of the way and work out pretty well. Okay, well, I was determined. I just did a whole bunch of stuff without recording. So here's what we got. We got my switch down here at the bottom wired in. Goes into this pretty healthy flex here, which is in fact mounted to the post, and I left behind it a good half, 3/4 of an inch. If ever I decide to sheetrock this wall, I can slip it in behind. Anyway, it runs all the way up there to the motor, that box, so I'll climb up there. See if anybody's got vertigo. Anyway, I'm working off of a 10-foot ladder. This door is 16 foot, so I kind of got to be up pretty high on it. But anyway, it comes in the bottom here into the box, and of course we're grounded there. I did build a little bracket, or actually just cut a chunk of metal and put a self-tapper through there, so the box is anchored to the post, as well as rigid pipe here, or EMT to the motor. And then for power, come in on this little MC, 3/8 MC, which runs up and over to a switched box up here above this door opener, which actually runs my 2 sets of tube strip lights, maybe 3 amps max being used, 20 amp breaker, and 20 amp switch. So anyway, plenty to run this little motor affair here. And then what I'll do is take my power out of the box, run it to my 2 limit switches back in, and then down in through this cable. I left a pigtail up here to hook up to later for this once I get my 2 limit switches, but I don't know how how this is going to work and where the door is going to end up at each end, so I'm not wiring in the limit switches quite yet. I want to make sure everything functions with the chain and everything before I spend all that time. So guess I'm gonna try this thing here and figure out what direction the door goes relative to my toggle. I don't have my chain hooked up or anything yet, but I do have power. I got my lights on here, my strip lights, so let's see what we got. We're in neutral here. Go ahead and throw it in that position, and actually, you know what, before I do this, I'm going to go ahead and mount this cover up to my grounded box. So I'm going to do that. I wasn't going to change directions down here anyway. I was going to do it up top. So, well, we got the old switch mounted, so I'm going to go ahead and go as if I were going to go that direction. I guess we'll call that closed, see if the motor runs. And in fact it does. However, okay, so this is in the closed position on my switch, and the motor's running in the pull the door open routine. So I'm going to have to switch my directional leads up there. Flip the switch the other way just to make sure it works. And in fact it does, so that'll be the closed. Okay, we got that all up there. Later there will be some limit switches, one at each end, but till I get the door running back and forth on some kind of a chain, I'm not going to put those in. Down here on the table there you can see I got 20 foot of chain, and then I have some little bits, they're probably 2 foot sections from the original application of these motors. So I'm going to go ahead and string a chain up here. It's yet to be decided whether or not I'm going to need a tensioner, or whether the weight of that chain is going to keep things in line. Don't know yet, but on the way. So I think I'm going to try and string that chain across, see what it looks like. No easy task to get the chain up there. I had to block one side with the coaster side with a pair of ice grips, and then stretch it out. I had to cut a couple times, and now I've got it pulled together there at the master. A pair of those pretty stout little vice grips, and I do in fact have the master in there. Yeah, I had 20 feet of chain that I purchased, and then I had a bunch of pieces anyway, and I had to cut this much and one more pair off. I went a little bit less than I figured to start with, just in case, and then I did have to take one more. The old grinder there, take off the little nubbin and then use your standard chain breaker. Anyway, yeah, I'll have to see how this works, but if I can find my chain there, there's not a lot of sag in it, and 20 feet of it's brand new, so it's going to wear a little bit, so it'll sag a little bit in time. Plus with this wood here, things are going to settle in, so I think it's going to be alright. I'm going to put the little clip on the master link, get those vice grips out of there, and try it. Well, for demonstration purposes, I tied a little chunk of yellow rope around the top of the chain there, and we'll see how fast it goes. Hopefully you can see it on the screen there. I have an idea that'll be a reasonable speed to open and close this door. And it'll probably stop in that vicinity. Go ahead and run it back here. Anyway, you can see I have a little bit of coast there. So I'll have to take that into account when I put my limit switches in, so that I don't smash my switches. But yeah, worked out pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and call the redneck door opener done for today. It's getting to be time to go back to the other place and do a little barbecue, I think, being as it's sunny out. And probably won't be sunny much longer, so yeah. Thanks for watching.